How would you like to achieve your first million? And today you're here for a treat because we have one of the most experts and amazing serious entrepreneurs that you might find in the tech space. He's more recently founded Aimi, the AA Music Initiative. Prior to Aimi, Edward founded the startup, including BeComm Corporation, and is a pioneer in building operating system for digital services, B Labs, and IP-centric incubator. Oh my God, Vital Juice, which is a food manufacturing company, and Strings Inc., a content publishing platform, amongst others. So, Edward, tell us, what are the 5 steps that tech entrepreneurs should be doing out there to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I think the 5 steps to success are really not that much of a secret. I think we all know them. I think one of them is probably obvious. That's hard work. You're going to have to outwork everybody because I guarantee you there's somebody smarter out there than you. So you're going to have to outlast them and outwork them. You can't do it alone, so you're going to need a great team. And that means finding people who are equally motivated as you are. It's really difficult to build a successful company when your team doesn't have the same motivations that you do. You also need to obviously have an idea that matters. If your idea is too early, you're going to spend a lot of money educating a market that will eventually take off without you. And obviously, if you're too late, you're going to have a difficult time winning customers back from your competitors who've already made it into the market. And obviously, you need to have funding. So at some point or another in the starting of your company, you're going to need money to take this idea that you have with the great team that you've built and the hard work that you and the team are putting in to provide you with the ability to take your idea and launch. And last, I would say, don't pay attention to lists that people give you for how to succeed. Everyone takes their own journey and everyone's going to take their own path. And you really need to figure out what makes you special and double down on that. It's really not likely that you're going to be able to replicate what Bill Gates did or what Mark Zuckerberg did, or even what I've done. Everyone is going to have their own unique journey.
So, Edward, tell us how you decided to become a tech entrepreneur, something that is really challenging, and how you managed to consistently found different companies in the tech space in different sectors. And so how you win in tech? Because exactly what you said, people problem number one that we find in the industry is that most of the tech companies, the tech entrepreneurs, some of them are software developers, so they are more. They love the product, they keep developing, but they don't understand that if you don't know how to bring that product to market, yeah, they all of a sudden they forget about this word MVP, minimum viable product. They remove the M, and now it becomes this huge elephant when they have a lot of code and the developers they keep developing and developing for this software that is going to change the world. But hey, who's going to buy this thing? How we bring this to market? How we make this product market fit? So how Edward, when you in your companies, how you approach this process, which is one of the most challenging in the tech space, getting the product market fit actually that somebody without I'm doing it in an MVP way, minimum viable product, a product that okay works somehow, solve a problem, you can sell it, and then you find out, hey, people are willing to pay some money for this. Now let me take some profit, let me improve the product. But all of a sudden, most of the sudden, tech entrepreneurs take this in the wrong way, and then the company fail.
But there's no magic formula to it, and it's something that I constantly struggle with as well. When you're an entrepreneur, you tend to be a perfectionist, and when you're a perfectionist, it actually flies in the face of MVP. And the whole idea behind minimally viable product is to not let your perfectionism get in the way.
To not be perfect, to be cheap, right?
Well, to be fast. And
affordable,
I think,
yeah, exactly. How to work,
speed
right?
Speed is the key because you often will be wrong before you're right. You'll be wrong more times than you are right. And it only takes being right once. But to get there, you often have to be wrong many times in a row. So entrepreneurs have to be able to accept that wrong is okay because it just eliminates one dead end that you need to go down until you find the right path to get down.
I'm glad that you touched this point because out of the 500 millionaires that have participated in in this broadcast, I haven't found anyone yet that tell me, Harry, you know what? The I designed this product as it is, and from the first iteration, it works. That was exactly what the clients want to buy. No one yet had come to this story. Everybody is telling me, "Oh boy, Harry, there was iterations and iteration and changing and improvement and different ways until finally." We adapt the product into a way that this is how the market wanted. So the tech entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurs in general, sometimes we have this assumption that we design a product because we think that this is product will solve this particular problem in this way. But when you're trying to take it to market, Edward, the whole story changed. People don't want that product, that solution in a way that you thought it's gonna be. Now you have to listen to the market. You have to be flexible, and you have to adapt to the market. So in Europe, what have been this process when it comes to your company? How you approach or how less stubborn you are that say, okay, you know what, was my idea, but the market is telling me something else, so let me listen to the market, let me adapt to the market. Do you think that flexibility is one of your key for your success?
Well, the only way to really do that, in my opinion, is to be your own customer. If you aren't building a product that you want to use and that you do use, you're unlikely to figure out what other people want because there isn't a straightforward communication path between you and customers that you don't have yet. You're guessing. So to the extent that you can be your own customer, you at least eliminate one variable. Is there a person that wants this product? And if you can be that person, then you've short-circuited a lot of that. Then the question becomes, how many more people like me are there out there? And is this scalable to a market that's worth investing the amount of money that we're investing into this product to build it for that market?
So, Edward, 105, 106 entrepreneurs that come to this broadcast, they are tech entrepreneurs. So, people might have the assumption that, wow, it's very easy to become a millionaire in tech because, look, I'm listening Harry's show or following the social media, and wow, you see Edward, and last week we have another people, and very often tech entrepreneurs show up to this broadcast and so, what message do you have for your fellow tech entrepreneur listening to this broadcast? Is it easy to become a millionaire in tech? There is a certain path that you have to follow in order to maximize your risk, because there is something that is real also, because you have succeeded in different industries. What it means is that if you follow a certain process, if you follow a certain way of thinking, if you follow a certain strategy, that will work on tech, and we work in several industries. The examples are all the companies that you have worked and make them successful. So there is a secret, yeah. There is a way of doing things that if you do, you are highly probable to be successful. So, Edward, tell us the truth. How risky and how much, how easy or difficult is to become a millionaire tech entrepreneur?
Well, there might be 1 out of 5 on your show that are in tech, but there's probably 1 out of 100,000 that succeed overall.
Absolutely. Only to the show come who made it. How about nobody talks never? But I'm glad that you touched this point because nobody talks never about who didn't make it. So
that's right.
Tell us a reality check. Tell us how is it?
Well, I can tell you early in my career, I always thought I was the smartest guy in the room. And then I realized pretty quickly that it didn't matter. As I said before, everybody who's going to be going after the same prize that you are probably as smart or smarter than you are. And the one thing that's in your control, you can't control who's smarter than you, but you can control how hard you work. And that really ends up being the determining factor. The people that work the hardest are the ones that win. I have yet to see somebody succeed at an epic scale in business who didn't also work hard, even if they got lucky early on and got to that product market fit because their timing was perfect. inevitably hard work is what propelled them to first place.
I agree with you 100%. We always share in this broadcast that being an entrepreneur is a skill. The more you practice, the better you become. It's like driving a car or swimming. So, but this is the news that we have for our audience. The only way that you can develop the skill of an entrepreneur is working hard, because the more you work, the more you're practicing, the more you're developing this skill. Once you have this skill developed, it's some people they're not allowed to do it, but some people drive and talk. Some people drive and speak on the phone. Why? They have this skill so embedded in the brain that is actually the decision they take it even straight away, some because they have a high level of skill. So, number one, I think, Edward, you're right 100%. Working hard, meaning the harder you work, the harder you will develop the skill. Once you have the skill, once you can swim, you can swim. Once you can drive, you can drive. However, learning how to swim, learning how to drive, um, regardless that you have a mentor, regardless that you have a coach, you need practice. The more you practice, the better you become, and this translates in the entrepreneurial world as working hard. So but Edward, what do you think? Do you think that the incubators out there, the tech incubators, the venture capitalists, the landscape of tech? Because I have a lot of founders. I have invested in tech companies, and um, there is, I know very well the whole ecosystem was going on, right? You see, you have this founder that they're trying to have the product, but then they looking for funding, but then when the investor come, they say, well, what is your traction? There is no traction for this product, so I cannot give you funding like this. And then the guys say, well, but for me to have the traction, I need to money to invest. You talk about funding. So how you break this process into pieces that is more easy for everybody, right? Because we need to understand all the parts. We need to understand the venture capitalist and the angel investor. The priority
Sure.
is like, and there is something, an stereotype that is in the industry, Edward, that when I started to work in tech, to help companies in tech, they would tell me, no, no, Harry, but listen, the tech is different. Tech is different than the traditional business. You cannot approach tech. And the more I see tech, the more I see that is more similar to traditional business. If this doesn't make a profit, if you don't have people are not buying your product, there is very little value there. And yeah, it was time that with a piece of paper you show it to a VC or to an angel investor, they will give you 1 million or 2 million. But those times are gone, in my opinion. The VCs, the investors are becoming really savvy. They already looking at the tech business like the comparables with the other business. Don't get me wrong. The reason that why everybody's wealthy in tech is because of the nature of the business. When you're gonna sell it, you can sell it 10x, 10x, 12x. Some of them could be even 20x compared with a restaurant, which is, I don't know, 5x, 3x. So tech is good when it's working, when your product is selling, because of the nature of the industry. You have more multiples that you can exit. However, it comes with the same principles of business. Your product has to be market fit, and you have to be able to sell it. So, Edward, tell us, is it really different tech businesses that other businesses out there? There is something, or in fact, being a tech entrepreneur is like other entrepreneurs out there. If you don't meet the principles, look at you. You have a juice company. I don't think that this one had nothing to do with tech, right? So
It was a
you
tech
can you.
company,
Ah, I was
but
a
I
tech
can speak
company
to that.
also. I was a
Yeah.
tech
Let me
company.
let me
Okay,
address.
okay, go for it.
Let
Go
me.
for it.
No, you brought up funding. I mean, look, there's generally three ways you can fund a business. You can either fund it yourself, you can either fund it with outside investors, or your customer can fund it. And inevitably, you're going to have capital coming into a business to continue running it. So you need to make a decision about which of those you need to do. And oftentimes what happens is you start funding it yourself, then you bring in outside funders, then ultimately the goal is that your customers will fund it. But we've seen examples of businesses that have perpetuated with the first two, either self-funding or bringing in outside investors, but eventually it'll collapse under its own weight. You need to bring in customer revenue to fund your business at some point. In terms of are tech companies different? Fundamentally, no. You sell a product, and the amount of work that you put into creating that product needs to be less than the price that you charge for it. So you have to be able to pay for the work that you're doing with the money that you generate from selling that product. There are unique aspects of tech, though, and you touched on one of them, multiples. Tech is one of the few businesses where you can create one thing and within days it can become a massively popular product or application where
Absolutely.
millions of people use it.
Absolutely.
Hard to do that with a restaurant, right? It's hard to get a restaurant
Oh,
launched and
it
have
won't happen.
a million customers in your restaurant. I did run a juice business. The juice business was really focused on revolutionizing ERP platforms. In other words, the warehousing of fresh food. And we built a juice business around that platform to
Wow,
essentially
the
showcase the
ERP,
technology.
the operation, very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the operations side of it. But I can tell you the differences between running a business where we're selling consumer packaged goods and for example, Aimi, what I'm doing right now, those lessons translated very directly. I had to learn how to sell a bottle of juice on a shelf with 100 other competing products that said exactly the same thing my juice did. We all said, it's good for you, it's fresh, it's low calorie. Everybody said that. So you had to distinguish yourself. And in the world of music right now, there's a lot of competition. So you have to figure out how to distinguish yourself in that maze of competitors. And those skills definitely translate. So there's a lot of overlap in terms of the business strategies that you would use in non-tech businesses and in tech businesses.
Tell us about the company that you work in at the moment. Yes. What do you start? Look at Edward. Listen, you should be on the beach. You see, you know how hard it is to have one tech company. You know how difficult it is to succeed. You know how difficult it is to exit. And then you're doing this again and again. And why you don't go to the beach, sit on the sun? Why you going again? Which is something that you know how
I,
challenges. You know very well what you're getting into of having another tech company, another elephant to move. You see.
mhm.
So tell us why you do this thing. Why you know in the beach traveling the world and having some rest.
Honestly, if I was on the beach, I'd probably try to figure out a company to deal with whatever issues I was seeing on the beach. So it's
You would be so bored. Yeah, that
I
was
would.
me also
I'm
when I went on holiday. Like when we have success in the company, I went on holiday. So would you suppose that you're gonna be on holiday, you're gonna have a lot of fun, and after 2 weeks you're so bored that you want to come back to the action, right?
Yeah, look, I fundamentally don't think that what I do is work. And I encourage all entrepreneurs that I speak to redefine their basic definition of failure. Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs think, I don't want to start this company because I'm afraid of failing. But instead of thinking about it as failure, thinking about it as trying and accept the fact that you're going to have to try and try and try and try before you finally achieve the kind of success that you want as an entrepreneur. And there's so many examples of this. Slack languished for years before it took off. Even Snap was in the App Store with maybe 100 users for the first year. So these products don't just take
Absolutely.
off on their own. They are
A
a
lot of
result of
energy.
a lot of trying, a lot of failing.
A
And if you
lot of
redefine failure,
iterations.
a lot of iterations, and those iterations are by definition failure, right? Each one of them was a
Absolutely.
failed attempt. And that's not a bad thing. And I think we're sort of encouraged socially to think about success as being this unilateral thing, but it's not. Success is the byproduct of lots of iteration, lots of trying, lots of trying. If you don't think of those as failures, then you'll do what I do, which is keep starting businesses.
Edward, but what is your background? Do you study software developing? What's your background?
Yeah, I had kind of a unique journey. I studied computer science. I went to University of Washington. I was 16 when I got accepted there, so I was pretty young. And then I graduated young as well. So I was 19, and I had a brief stint at Microsoft where I worked as a software engineer. And I just got the bug to go and start a company. So I did. I left, and then I've been starting companies since then.
Edward, you're very rare space because usually this is what we find on the space. We find that all these geeks that write code and they love tech and they are geniuses in their own right. To be honest, we find out there that this is the reality that most of them to become very bad entrepreneurs. We don't want to affect anybody, but software developers, you see, there is we in this podcast, for example, we see that this is the statistic that honestly more of the people that winning in tech they have become millionaires and they have become successful companies. They are not actually software developers. They are people that understand marketing, sales, and eventually, when it comes software developers like you, they spend the whole time speaking about marketing, sales, product market fit, several iterations, how to bring it to market, and I haven't heard you yet to tell me, oh Harry, my code was amazing. I love this coding. I'm all about the code and all about the product. So we find that even the programmers that software developers that come here, somehow they have a great passion about what business mechanics and what business principles mandate. And if you have these business principles, it doesn't matter if you're software developer or not, you can you will succeed. There are, I think that people see, I don't know, Mark Zuckerberg, not even Steve Jobs. I don't think that he was a software developer, but let's leave it there. But people see the Google guys and they see the Mark Zuckerberg, and somehow can be the wrong assumption that because I know how to write code, I'm gonna be an amazing entrepreneur, and unfortunately it doesn't work like this. Unfortunately, it's
Yeah.
you there is. So how big is the gap, or how big is the, because for you, Edward, you make your transition from corporate to become your own boss, your own entrepreneur,
Sure.
completely
Yeah.
different. When you are in Microsoft, you have to be very good at your role, and that's it. And you can be even have the luxury to say, "I'm sorry, this is not my job." When you are in your company, completely different ball game. Your job is everything, and you need to learn about marketing. You need to learn about sales. You need to learn about this. There is no such. I'm good at one role only. This
Sure.
disappears at the moment. So why do you took the decision to go from comfortable, which it was your job in Microsoft, that sure they pay you a lot of money and they keep you very comfortable there, yeah, very
Hmm.
happy. And so why you decide to go to comfortable to be uncomfortable to start your own tech company? Did you knew the risk that you're getting into? Did you knew all the challenges that you're about to face by going your own, and that anyone told you that maybe you're crazy? Why you gonna leave Microsoft to start your own thing? So anybody
People
in your
still tell me I'm
family?
crazy, so that hasn't changed. And I actually believe them. But I'll tell you, I think there's a couple answers to what you said. First, if all you want to do is write code, go to Microsoft or go to Google, go to Facebook, go to any number of tech companies that need people who just want to write code. I was attracted to computer science because I like solving complex problems. And there's no more complex problem in my mind than the intricacies of running a successful business.
Oh
When I
well,
started my
there you not get bored. You have problems every day.
That's right. When I started my first company, I was incredibly insecure about all the aspects of business that I didn't know about. So I read all the Harvard MBA handbooks on business. I think there's 5 of them. I read every single one of them front to back. I did every position in the company before I hired somebody for that position. So I wrote the first version of the operating system that we ended up building before I hired engineers for it. I did the recruiting before I hired a recruiter. I balanced the books and did the accounting before I hired an accountant. I did the marketing before I hired a marketing person. And that gave me an understanding of each of those positions. And this goes back to another tenet of mine in business, and that's empathy. I think you absolutely have to have empathy for your colleagues. You have to understand what their role requires and what their
Absolutely.
challenges are. And without that empathy, they won't have respect or empathy back for you, and they won't work with you the way that you need them to work to succeed at the business. And that same empathy translates to how you have empathy for your customers. I think the way you treat your customers is very similar to the way you end up treating your employees, and vice versa. So you need to make sure that empathy is a big part of that as well.
Now let's talk about AI because we have now this amazing company. You're talking about growth. I think ChatGPT, OpenAI have been one of the companies that fastest in the history have become a unicorn. It was I think in a short period of time that no one had done it before. So how do you see the future of AI? Do you think that all the engines out there are gonna be relying in open AI to build platforms? Or do you think now, for example, we have Google that they have their own AI tool also? Because AI at the end of the day is like a kid. If you teach them good things, they're gonna learn good. If you teach them bad things, they're gonna learn bad. And it's all about the database, all about the data that this AI is
Sure.
operating. So tell us, how can you build a, a product that have a difference in the marketplace? Because all what I see there, all the products out there that want to have businesses to perform or whatever, they are all based in the same database. They are all based in
Sure.
open AI. They are built on top of it. So tell
Yeah.
us a little bit
There, there,
more. What is what really is different into the AI space, or how can you differentiate yourself with these products and services that you see out there? The new ones, they are all AI based, and why?
there's a lot to unpack there, but I can address just at a high level. Uh, the models themselves are, I don't want to say being commoditized, but they're close. We have so many competing models now, and there is even today new models coming out, like with DeepSeek, when we saw the market take a significant correction, largely because DeepSeek changed the economics around the models. Now we don't need super expensive GPUs to train the model, and we don't need super expensive GPUs to do inference. We can do it for a lot cheaper. So the game of to date was which company can spend the most money. And you've seen CEOs from Facebook and Microsoft and OpenAI and X bragging about how much they're going to spend, and all of a sudden a new model comes out bragging about the opposite, only $10 million invested with comparable performance. So I think there's going to be some disruption happening in that space. I do feel like there's a paradigm shift coming up right now. The idea that the only way to make a better model is to spend more money and either steal or buy or create more data to train them on, I think that's broken. I don't think it's scalable. So I think we're going to see a lot of companies focus on different ways to achieve
Wow.
training models. But by the same token, I also feel like this reminds me a lot about the dawn of the internet. And I was involved in writing a lot of networking code at that time. I built a TCP/IP stack to connect devices to the internet, and I built a lot of operating system code around that. But at that time, it was the same question. It's like, are you going to build an internet app? Now you don't even ask that, right? Of course, your app has connectivity to the internet in it. So I think you're going to see a similar sort of shift in the way people perceive AI. Are you going to build an AI app? That's a silly question. Of course, my app has AI built into it. So it's less about are you building an AI-enabled app and more about how pervasive is AI going to be. AI is going to be pervasive. It's going to be infused in every product you touch, and every developer needs to be smart about how to incorporate it into their technology platform.
So what drive you to start this new company related with music? Why do you think that is what you're doing, guys, is something different than what is out there? And
Sure.
what is the differentiation aspect? I'm aware that the music industry have big market. You see valuations companies like Spotify and so
Right.
on. You see they are massive. People love
Yeah.
music. It's a content that is a high quality content that people consume a lot. However, there are big players on
Sure.
the on the market at the moment. So how you gonna beat these Goliaths that they are there when you are a little David?
Well, the first thing is to not get in the ring with them. So just backing
Absolutely,
up,
absolutely. Go to a
just
niche
going
that you can
back.
penetrate. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So going back to the question you asked, why did I start this? Look, we started filing patents around the concept for Aimi back in 2015. So we were very early. And the initial thesis of the company still holds. We really were drawn to the fact that music uniquely brings together science and art. When you look at videography or creating images, it's less about science and more about art. So music is uniquely a confluence of art and science. And that fascinates me. I consider myself a whole-minded person. I love my creative side, and I also love my analytical scientific side. So this was an opportunity to build product that exercised both sides of my brain. Jumping to your last question, why did we build this and why do we think it'll be differentiated? The music industry has to date been focused on songs. And even if you look at some of the AI platforms that have come out of late, they are song generating tools. In other words, they let people make songs. We don't think that's an interesting market. There's over 1 billion songs on Spotify. Almost, I think 30% of them now are AI generated. And a large percentage of songs, a growing percentage of songs on Spotify are never listened to, or they have fewer than 10 plays. We don't need more songs. We don't need more content out there, especially given that consumers have 1 billion to choose from, and they only have to pay $9 a month to access that. So the economics just don't make sense if you're in the song business. On the flip side, music is a very acute need for enterprises. And if you think about where music is used in enterprise, it's pervasive. It cuts across so many different industries. You need music for podcasts. You need music for commercials. You need music for movies. You need music for how-to videos, for corporate videos. You need music for any kind of a medium where you want music to support
You need
that
your own
medium.
music because the other music they do have copyright. You cannot use it. It's a big headache.
That's right. That's right. So our focus from day one was to build music as a service that's on
Oh
demand and
wow,
high precision
very good.
and clear of royalty and copyright issues. And I am really proud to say that we've succeeded at doing that. We have a service now that you can use to generate music interactively, meaning let's say you have a fitness app and you need the music to change dynamically with the runner. We have a service that can generate that music for you that you can send inputs to, and it'll change the music on the fly. Separately, we have an API for adding music to video. You can just feed it a video, it'll understand the video, and it'll dynamically add music
Very
to that
powerful.
video.
Very
Yeah.
powerful. Very good.
And
And
we didn't
very
see anyone in
and
that
it's
space.
operating in a it's very good to enhance the engagement in social media, for example. Yeah.
Yes,
And then
exactly.
the music will be copyright. It won't have any copyright issue. It won't have any copyright
Correct.
restriction because it's generated by the software, right?
Well, look, the fact that it's generated by the software does not make it copyright and royalty cleared, as you can see by the fact that Suno and Udio are getting sued right now by the NMPA and the RIAA. They're getting sued because they trained their models on copyrighted material. The distinction with Aimi is that we did not train our models on copyrighted material.
You
Instead of
train the model
focusing,
in material that doesn't have copyright, right?
no, we avoided that altogether.
Oh
Instead
wow.
of trying to teach our models how to make a song, we taught our models how to make music from scratch. So our models make music the way a producer does. Our models are able to assemble samples, create samples, arrange those samples, mix those samples, and then produce music from that. And that allows us
Like
to
a
avoid
music
having to
producer
train.
without analyzing any previous trend of anything. There
Correct.
is no way that they can get inspiration or let. Yeah, like we were talking before. If you teach AI to do something bad, it will do something bad. If you teach it to do something good, it will do something good. It's not about the AI itself. Is where
Right.
is
The
gonna
data.
the principle what is gonna call it. Wow, really powerful, and it's a big market because. Again, music. I, exactly as you said, we don't need songs, but what we need is more engagement in creating content.
Correct.
Either you do a movie, either you do this podcast, either you do any videos out there. If you put the right music, and eventually this technology that it will identify what type of music, and we will create the right background music for the content that will be that's technology that definitely it will increase the engagement. Like I always said, you see To be in business, you have to be able to grow a community, and to grow a community, you need high quality content. And if this high quality content have a music, if the music can enhance the high quality content, well, you will be able to create a bigger and greater community. And the other thing with music is that is the only form of art that when you hear the music, it will bring you the emotion again and again and again. I mean, if you see a painting, okay, this is form of art. Yeah, you see it once and it's amazing. You can have it in your house, but you know, the more you see it, the more you see it, the more you see it, probably the emotion that connected to this painting in the first place, maybe it will vanish with time. However, music have a different effect. Music, it doesn't matter if you if you listen this music like 20 years ago, if you hear this music playing when you were a kid, now that even you're an older, you hear the music, we bring you back that sentiment, we bring you back this emotion exactly like day one. This is something that only music, the only form of art that I've seen out there. Music, even the movie, you see a movie, you can love the movie, you can see the movie one time, two times, three times, but after you see the movie 10 times, that's it. You bored with the movie, you bored with the painting, you it's already the connection is different. However, how many times you hear a song that you like,
Mhm.
and that emotion comes, you will never get tired of the song because it attached to
Sure.
our unconscious mind in a different level. That's
And
why
and
I find music.
you don't watch a movie 100 times, but you might listen to a song 100
Exactly.
times.
That's what I'm saying. So, and that's why, like, that's what define the market size for what you're doing. That the consumption of songs and music content, because of the, especially in corporate, right, when you have so many restrictions, so many issues with copyright, and as entrepreneur, we don't want problem. We are here to solve problems. We don't want problems to come to us, right? So technology is like that that can provide that service and get away the copyright problem. That this is a good very good way for enterprises out there that they can operate, either they do a commercial or they do any content on there. So, Edward, this idea, you had this idea, your friend had the idea. How you thought that you guys can do this different? You saw everybody doing it out there in one way, and as a tech entrepreneur, you say, "Hey, this problem is coming and coming soon. Let me change the approach. Let me remove it from scratch. Let's start for the main principle, and let's create the disruption." So, why do you come up with this idea?
This wasn't a case of seeing people doing it the wrong way in the industry. It was really about just not seeing it at all. I don't think I've ever seen music implemented as a service. There's just nothing out there where you can connect to an API and essentially feed it parameters and get back music that matches what you need. So that's something unique. Really, the risk for us was, will people want this? Will there be a place for this? That was one risk. The other risk was, it's hard. This was not an easy problem to solve. Creating music in real time
Absolutely,
that
absolutely.
sounds good, that's cross genre, that's also royalty and copyright cleared, not an easy problem to solve. So, maybe I came up with the idea. Great, but the idea was not the hard part. The idea was really
And
the
also
easiest part of
patented,
it.
and also go to the patent process, which is again something that takes time. And
Yeah.
so, do you finally manage, Edward, to get the result of the patents or not yet?
We have over 55 patents worldwide issued. So
Relating
we have
this related this music thing that you're doing? Oh
that's
my God,
correct.
that's really
Yeah.
strong. Wow.
Yeah, I would encourage anyone starting a business to be very mindful of protecting their intellectual property early. It's something that you can't go back and fix. You can't decide later to go file patents. You have to do it before you actually publicly disclose your idea, or you cannot patent it. And that's just a fact in the US and in Europe and pretty much anywhere that has patent jurisdiction. That's the case. So you just need to be really careful about that upfront.
But then, Edward, the other thing is being early or the first on the market. You see, there are sometimes, like for example, MySpace. could be it was uh, first social media, and it was getting some market share, and then Facebook took over. So sometimes Google, it was not the first search engine in the market. However, it becomes very successful. So sometimes to be in the first, sometimes to be the disruptor in the industry is sometimes not a good thing, because this bigger company with huge budget and everything can see the disruption that you created. Yeah, even if you close your pattern as much as you can, and then just wait and see if this actually is going to take off, and then they will go and then compete with you. And they have a lot of budget, they have a lot of resources. This is a bad part of tech, that when you create something and it's working really good, then the big boys come, they either buy you, or otherwise they want to crush you. They want to build it themselves, and start to compete right away. So how you see this challenge coming to you eventually, because it will come to you as soon as you start to make a lot of money with this, and how you're going to navigate this process.
Sure. Well, look, being early is a really difficult place to be. First of all, you end up spending a lot of money educating a market that other people take advantage of. Second, there's this concept of the innovator's dilemma, where whatever innovation you came up with when you were early ends up being the thing that you think is absolutely what you need to bring to market. And more often than not, you're wrong. Whatever it is that you thought was innovative is unlikely to be the thing that ends up being what the market needs, especially if you were really early, because the market evolves substantially from there. So the trap that companies get stuck in is whatever idea they came up with that brought them to the forefront early ends up being the weight around their ankles that drowns them. They need to be able to pivot, and they need to be able to readjust based on what they're seeing in the marketplace, and make their earliness be an advantage, not a liability. And that's a critical thing that I think is incredibly difficult to do. Even for a seasoned entrepreneur like myself, I have to constantly remind myself that you don't get any rewards for being early. You get rewards when a customer pays for your product. That's the ultimate reward.
So Edward, and yeah, when people come to me and say, Harry, I have this idea, is so unique, nobody's doing it, I'm like, wow, maybe this idea is unique because there is no need for it. Maybe there is no need for the market for it. But then if it's really unique, be ready, because I was that person once. I opened one of my brilliant ideas. It was to open the first halal restaurant in Brick Lane, in which is a place in London where all spicy food traditional is been it had been sold. And then I call it Harry Spanish Tapas. And there I was with that restaurant. I was the pioneer. Nobody never offered this halal food to that community in a different way. There was no spicy. It was Mediterranean, but it was all halal, comply with all the culture and so on. And it was very innovative. The council, the authority, they were going there and they loved the project, because I was bringing different food to the community. And then even the restaurant would choose to compete into the Olympic Games in London to deliver to see for a competition, to see if it wins one of the jobs out there. However, the reality was that it was so expensive to educate the market. Only the young people used to go to a restaurant. And by the time that the market start to get educated into that product, into something new for that community, it was so expensive and took so long that I had to close it, and I lost over 200,000 pounds in that adventure. However, now you go to the same road, Brick Lane, and when I was the only restaurant that was offering alternative food and halal food to that community in that road, if you go now in London, 50% of the restaurants are actually alternative food. So what happened is everybody was waiting to see how long I gonna hold educating the market. And once the market was educating and I was gone, everybody came into, because they knew that it was a space for alternative food. It was just somebody has to go first, and some I learned this in the hard way. That's why when somebody said I have this unique idea, I'm like, oh, be careful with number one because number one is dangerous. It's expensive. Is sounds very sexy, but in reality, it's tough. So, Edward, any but you do have experience. The good news is that you have experience in the tech space. You do know what you're doing, and you are going into this industry knowing you're going ready to battle. You know what you're getting into. However, again, very big players out there with a lot of money that that are looking and watching what you're doing and see, well, let me see what. However, you can actually, with experience, you can end up winning on this. Yeah, you can have the right strategy partner. You can write the. So it's all about the strategy. It's all not about being so stubborn. It's all about understanding the marketplace, and it's about strategic partner. So any strategic partner everywhere that you think that can make a big difference of what you're doing, that can accelerate what you're doing, can actually. Uh, um, at this moment that is early stage, who you thinking that could be probably your future merge acquisition, strategic partner? Um, what what companies have you thinking that this project that you're doing would be interesting?
Well, look, we're in tech, so there's two ways to exit. One is to create a substantial customer base, and the other one is to get acquired. So for us, the focus is on building a great product that people want to pay for. And we've done that. And we have customers now who are in the enterprise space who want
Wow.
music that can be generated on demand with high precision. So exactly what our thesis was when we started out. The way that we avoided the traps of being early was constantly pivoting. So we built a
Mm-hmm.
general purpose platform. We weren't
Mm-hmm.
sure how this platform needed to come to market. So we gave ourselves a lot of flexibility in being able to adjust quickly. One thing I hear a lot, and I think it's kind of funny, and it usually comes from people who are unexperienced, is they say, well, you guys have changed a lot, or you change a lot. And I hear this labeled to other entrepreneurs, well, they change their mind a lot. That's what you're paid to do. You're paid to change direction.
Absolutely.
You're paid to pivot. And it's better to pivot and not go off the end of a cliff in a nosedive than it is to be stubborn with your, whatever concept you had and drive off the edge of the cliff. So, yeah, I think just to answer your question, we've put ourselves in a position where now the market is ready. And music as a service is something that people understand. They understand that AI is here to stay. It's not experimental, and they know they're going to need to incorporate it into their product planning. And as far as music goes, I don't think there's another company out there right now that can deliver music the way that we do at the cost point that we do with zero risk legally.
So pivot, Edward, is the secret of success in the tech space, right? Don't be stubborn. You see, I see a lot of young entrepreneurs out there that they are so in love with the product, they're so in love with the technology that they don't want to change. They believe, well, my product is so good. If you don't like it, somebody else will come and buy. However, if you are constantly listening and pivoting and listen to the market, and you're flexible enough. Yeah. The other day, somebody asked me a question in this broadcast. He told me, Harry, what is the fastest point from A to B? And I said, the straight line. And the guy told me, no, Harry, it's the path with less resistance. Think about the river. So pivoted, what it means is finding the path with less resistance. And if you don't pivot your product, there is a lot of resistance. And this is something, Edward, that we don't want for any tech entrepreneur out there. It's already hard. It's already tough. From this broadcast, we want all the entrepreneurs to be wealthy, to be healthy and happy. And we know that tech by itself is hard. So don't add resistance to it. Don't add stubbornness to it. Don't add every this I'm the boss here. Everybody had to do what I say. Don't start to add those layers in your tech company because it's already challenging as it is. Try to remove the resistance, tries to pivot, be open to pivot, be open to modify, be open to listen to your client, be open to find the path with less resistance. Have been a pleasure, Edward. So tell us, if people want to know more about you or they want to try out to this platform that you guys are working at the moment, how people can find you, how this process work?
Sure. The website's simple. It's aimi.fm. It's the AI Music Initiative. So you can go there. We have a series of products that we've made available. Some are direct products for consumers to play with, and then we also have our enterprise offerings for companies that need music integrated into their products and services as well.
Wow, I love the name. The name is fantastic. So thank you so much, Edward, for being a broadcast. These have been amazing. You make my day today. Yeah, I think that if you're a tech entrepreneur, please listen the broadcast twice. That would be helpful. There is a lot of learning that can be done if you listen carefully and pay attention to what we discussed today. We want you the best. We want you to succeed, and this is you have a blueprint for someone that has succeeded again and again in tech. So thank you so much, Edward, one time, and for all of you listening this broadcast, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable: How Brave Entrepreneurs like Edward break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Thank you, Harry.
Pleasure.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.